only day one, and we have got way more in store. We've got some incredible speakers this afternoon, and we're just getting ready for Karen Stewart. Now, while we're waiting for Karen, I am going to do a little bit of an introduction to Karen. Karen Stewart is the founder and CEO of Fairway Divorce Solutions, Bumblebee's venture capital, and she is a 2018 Woman of Inspiration Game Changer. So she started her company because there was a solution. I see Karen's out there. So Karen, we're waiting for you here. Yes, we're live. I'm doing your intro. I said, I know she's going to find it. You're probably watching the show. It's a great show so far. I have to say, I've been watching it on my phone, but we have two separate rooms. Gets a little confusing, but we have a stage and an audience, and everybody's been like listening to the show and forgetting to come up to the stage. So glad to have you, Karen. I was just introducing yourself, and you know, I have known you since 2007. Now, you and I crossed paths because somebody said, you know, Monica, sounds like you need Karen Stewart. I had, at the time, I had left with my baby that was 7 months old, and somebody says, you need to contact Karen Stewart with Fairway Divorce Solutions. And I thought, yay, 120 days to resolution for your divorce? Sign me up. I still remember your slogan. I don't know if it's changed over the years, but I still remember. 120 days to resolution?
Yep.
Seriously, it made that much of an impact to me. And I'm like going, okay, now it was 4,800 hours, 22 days of trial, 56 court appearances over 7 years. That is what I had for option B. Not a great one. I would have much rather done your zone, but you're a disruptor. You're a positive disruptor. You found an opportunity through your own divorce, and you said, no, let's do this differently. So you created Fairway Divorce Solutions because there's a hole in the system. The justice system destroys the lives, and once you're in, you can never get out. So you found an alternate solution for that, and you created Fairway Divorce Solutions, amongst other things. So including Bumblebee's venture capital VC, which is a strong social cause supporting female economy and tech while specializing in Series B opportunities. You're also a published author, speaker, and committed to disrupting both outdated thinking, marketing, and products. So you and I have connected on several times, and I'm super excited that you're actually available because I know that you've got a million things on the go right now. You're a 2018 Woman of Inspiration as well, and a game changer. Karen, so great to have you today. I am going to turn the stage over to you, my friend.
So I think the thing is this is all about success. And if there's one, you know, I guess I would ask you, Monica, is there one key thing, because you know me, is there one key thing you would like me to share that would have the biggest impact? We don't have a lot of time. I know that. So what would be the one thing you'd want to share? Because there's so much that I could just talk and talk, but is there one thing that you can pick out?
You know, when we had our interview, and we had the panel, and it was like a panel about, you know, it was really about the values, and you talked about the values and having a plan and a business plan for yourself. And you said, I am so focused on doing what I'm doing. And I think that's really important right now, because so if you want to dive into that success,
sure.
So laser focused, because we're so scattered right now. There's so many things out there to do. What do we do first? So if you can touch on that, you're brilliant on that.
Okay. So actually out of there, I think there's two sort of key tangible takeaways that I can sort of share with your audience. First of all, is everybody's heard of vision boards, and everybody, probably, it's almost cliche to do a vision board. However, there is tons and tons of research that says if you can create a vision of where you're going, you have nailed probably 80% of what you need to do. People get so caught up in how, and the key is, and I know this sounds cliche, have a really clear vision of where you want to go. Very clear, very specific. I have used, cut and pasting. I have a slideshow that I have a PowerPoint that I use. I update it a minimum every 30 to 60 days, where I go in and put in every way you can, as clarity, is get down to color and space and size of where you want to be, specifically talking, in life or in business. You will be amazed at how much you manifest. And sometimes we get so caught up, especially if you have any of an analytical mind, you get very caught up in the, how am I going to get there? Oh my gosh. And right now, we all know there's only two feelings, right? There's fear and love. So you can't be in love and experience fear, and you can't be in fear and experience love. They're mutually exclusive. So make sure you're choosing to be in a state of love, because in a state of love, you actually will attract. So if you have a clear vision and you're committed, and you know that vision is something that you were put on the earth to do, and you believe that, that's all you need. And after that, it's about trusting that, as long as you're asking the right questions and trusting that you're moving in the right direction and trusting, then the answers will come with you. I always say, start with your heart, end with your math. Start with the heart and then do the math. If the math doesn't add up, then either redo the math, or perhaps you went in a direction that you could have otherwise maybe tweak it a bit. So start with your heart, though, because usually if it's heart driven, there's a reason you got that message, and chances are nobody else got that same message. So I think that's number one. I think the other key thing I believe, to success is really understanding your personal value system. And we can say things like, oh, our value system is our family and our children, and kind of that, yeah, duh, that, of course that's your value system, but really, really understand and there's lots of courses out there people can take. There's lots of books you could read. A perfect example of how to sort of test yourself on a value system is if you lift your values. You say, okay, if my number one value is, let's say, learning or aesthetics or justice, whatever your value system is, kind of lay them out, kind of put them out into a list, and then actually test yourself. So because you will actually spend the majority of time on your number one or two value. So a lot of people, you have to call BS on it, because people might say, you know what, I value success. I value seeing my company come to fruition. But then when you actually look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, I ended up spending all this time looking after my family, all this time, doing my yard work or working out or whatever it was. And rather than say, and this is really key, oh, I'm going to change my values. I'll tell you right now, you can't. Changing your value system is it's almost like changing your height. It's what you came into this world with, and you may be able to understand them, but if you're not living in your value system, you should shift what you're doing. It's okay if if being, not running your business, or not being successful, or not being, whatever it is, or not being super fit and being able to run a 20 mile or a marathon or whatever, or be able to climb a mountain. If that's not in your value system, don't try and force it to be, because you will spend a life of misery, and that's where you get to the place of fear. So it's about validating your value system. For example, if someone said to me, or here's an example. Someone says, I'll pick on a workaholic. So you've got a workaholic. I'll pick on a guy for a second. You have a workaholic. He's a guy. And he says, you know what? My number one value is my family. Well, wait a minute here. You're spending 60 to 80 hours a week at the office. You're spending 10 hours a week with your family. That's not true. You're not being authentic with yourself. Your number one value system is your career and your success, and to be successful. And guess what? That's okay, because those 10 hours that you spend with your family, or whatever it is down the road of your values, you can still do a great job on that. But be honest. Be honest about what your value system is. For me, and I've shared this with people, probably my number one value in my life was learning. And when I'm really real, and being successful and being a successful entrepreneur is right up there. And, you know, if I have to choose to go to a family event or stay in my office and get work done, I'll often choose stay in my office and get work done. That's just who I am. So people might say, well, you know what, Karen, blah, whatever, you're a workaholic. Bottom line is I'm living to my value system. So if you take your value system and you're living authentically to your value system, and then you align that with your vision board, there's nothing that will get in your way.
Oh, Karen, I love you more and more every single time we talk, because I'm like you and I have so much in line. I mean, I work all the time, and it's because I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, right?
Exactly.
But when you're on that path, it's hard for people to understand if you're not on that path. And there's so many great things to do. I get excited about creating, making change, disrupting the norm, finding solutions for things. You are, God, I just am so happy that you've said so much great things today. And we talk about vision boards before, but they are kind of, whatever. But you do have to have a vision.
You do, and you have to take the time. So you know what, I'm analytical by nature. I mean, I follow my intuition, because I've learned that when I don't, I pay for it very, very big time. If someone appears smart and brilliant, and I use my head and say they're smart and brilliant, but my gut's saying maybe they're not, you know what, my gut's always right. But you know, I have a vision board, and it has, you know, it had my house, it had sort of the person I wanted to meet, because I wasn't prepared to settle on you know, who I was going to marry. It had a vision board of how I wanted my children to be able to have a lot of education behind them, and to be able to provide that for them, especially being a single mom for their entire basically lives. So and I put it on my PowerPoint, and you know what happens when I go through it? I go through it, and it's like, wow, I can literally remove those PowerPoint pages. So I have a whole series of PowerPoints going back probably 15 years. So I can even go back, it's like a diary, and I can go back, oh, isn't that super cool? Back in 10 years ago, this is what I wrote down, and oh my gosh, it's manifested. So it's a really, and there's tons of proof. I mean, if you want evidence, just read all the research about bringing together your hands, which are working with writing, your brain, your visual, all the senses, right?
Beautiful. So for those that are watching, they got so much out of 20 minutes. And we're going to call this like the juiciest 20 minutes, because you don't need a whole hour sometimes.
No.
We condensed everything. You gave so many practical.
I gave you everything I could, and we're done. It's 2:20 and we're on time.
It's like on to my next appointment. Next board meeting. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day. You are truly one of the leaders that I aspire. You've done so much. You're making change, and I still think right now you're probably.
Thank you, but so are you too. So give yourself a big hug.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate being surrounded by great leaders such as yourself, to keep, help pushing us forward and raising the need to help support other women. And right now, the female entrepreneurs need our help and support. So I was hoping that, this will be broadcasted for those of you listening. The replay is going to be available later. We've opened it up, actually, Karen. So if you want to share this in your network, that we've opened it up, that all our pass holders for our women-owned passes, support her passes, summit passes with roundtable. We've opened it up for 2 days to open up registration, because we have the recordings. Everybody's busy right now, so they can only jump on for certain pieces. So I'm like, don't worry about it. We got you. Jump on for what you can enjoy, and enjoy the whole summit online after. So Karen, thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.
I love the whole PowerPoint presentation. Oh my God, that's so inspiring. I hope everybody got lots and lots of information about it. Have a great day, and I look forward to your journey ahead. And thank you so much. Have a great day.